always wanted to learn to do. Whatever it is, realistic, unrealistic. And I want to tell you about my journey to drive a stick shift. This was my plan 40 years ago. I always wanted to learn how to drive a stick ever since I was doing community theater, or actually regional theater in West Virginia, and we were stuck in a house and the only car they would let us use had a stick shift, and I just could not do it. And I thought about it, and finally when my kids were like 1 and 4, I thought, you know, I'm just gonna have to buy a stick shift car, because if it's there, and it's the only vehicle available, I'm going to have to do it. So I bought a Honda, whatever, it wasn't an Accord, it was one down from the Accord, a sedan, stick shift. It sat in my driveway until I had to go to work one night, and I just thought, all right, I know how to do this, I just don't know how to do this. I lived in a residential neighborhood at the time, and my neighbors were all out on their front porches going, she stalled again. It took me a half an hour to get out of the driveway, because if you ever drive a stick shift, you know, you have to coordinate the clutch with the gas. I finally backed out of my driveway. Everybody applauded, and I drove 15 minutes to my evening job, sweating like a teenager the first time in a car. You know that feeling? But I made it, and I made it home, and I only stalled once, and I did use the trick where you put the emergency brake on a hill, because that helps. And eventually, driving a stick became second nature. I drove a stick until my car got totaled and they just weren't available anymore. So I want you to think about something you've always wanted to do. And today we're going to talk about why growth mindset matters, what it means to you personally, what it means to the businesses that you are running or in, the organizations that you're in, and a bit about leadership. So if you would share in groups of 2 or 3 at your table, a time when, like my stick shift, you felt frustrated learning something new, and yet you did. What did you do with that frustration? All right, I'll give you a minute to do that. Go ahead, share. I think you can break yourself into groups of 2. So anybody want to shout out something they didn't think they could learn to do, and yet they did, despite the frustration? Yeah.
Well, I ended up competing on horses, and it took me a lot of years. And horses are one of those things, the more you learn, the more you realize there are things you will never know. And so it can be great some days, but most days it's very soul-sucking.
Awesome, thank you. Who else? Debbie.
I guess I'm skipping the driving a stick shift. Years ago when I became a financial planner, I never did well in math in school, except geometry. So now I'm faced with taking a Series 7. Options, I mean, you name it. Very sophisticated stuff, and I thought, there's not a chance. But I ended up getting a 98.
Wow. So the second part of the question, what did you do? How did you jump from there's not a chance and heck that I'm going to do this to getting a 98?
I sat in Barnes & Noble in Glastonbury every single day for 6 weeks. And then I took a course down in Lower Manhattan for a week. And I am a great test taker. So that part I wasn't concerned about. It was that, well, you may be taking a test where you know none of the answers. That's an issue. So it worked out okay.
Okay, thank you. And I heard here becoming an RN and failing the test the first time.
Yeah, that was my class. So when I first started as an LPN, the very first test I took, I did not. You have to get a 75 or better. I did not. And I was kind of curious if I should even be doing it. And then I continued on and ended up doing really well, and then becoming an RN, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Oh, congratulations. You became like Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. I'm going to keep taking it again and again. So I'm sure that you all have similar stories, and today we are talking about growth mindset and how to get from that I can't do it to doing it. I have for each of you a memo pad and also a pen, and I do need to tell you that the pens are new, so if it's not writing, you've got a little black thing at the end of it, so you just have to kind of pick it off and then your pen will write beautifully, and these are yours to take home with you to take notes. I would like you to draw a circle on your memo pad and turn it into 4 quadrants. That's for Debbie, the math whiz. 4 quadrants. In other words, a vertical line and a horizontal line to get 4 parts of the circle. And we want to help all of us to jump from frustration to success when we want to. And the 4 elements, we could do this for 8 hours. It's a short speech. But in that first quadrant, write desire. If I didn't desire driving the stick shift, it never would have happened. The second part of it is necessity. Now, desire and necessity can go hand in hand, but if you're like me, if you have to get something done, like I always say, I don't care where the ball goes. I grew up in Queens, New York. My family played handball. I was like, where's the nearest stage? Because this is what I do. But if I got cast in a movie, and they told me, Randy, you have to be proficient in handball because you're playing a handball whiz, I would learn to play handball. Because necessity is a good motivator. How many of you work well with deadlines? Yeah. So we have desire, we have necessity. The third thing is mentorship or guidance. We're going to talk about that. And then the 4th quadrant is, what is your name, nurse?
Shane.
Shane, what Shane brought out, which is grit. Perseverance and failure. I just, call it grit, but failure is part of the growth mindset. Why do you think people sometimes give up after failing? Have you ever tried to do something and you failed and you're like, I don't really want that anyway, and that's okay. Anything?
You think that you're not good at it.
Yeah, you think, I just suck at this, so yeah. What else? Why else do people?
Failure feels bad.
Failure feels bad. And you don't want to do it again, right? Yeah? Any other reasons?
Like Debbie said, you don't want to do it. You realize it's not that important to you.
Yeah, it's not that important to you, or it's not your thing.
Yeah.
Or there was a thing that was going around on Facebook today with a bunch of cartoons about why people give things up. I walked down the road, so I work on the radio, I read the news, and I did walk down the road of becoming a journalist, and I did not like that road. It's not my thing. So part of this circle is aptitude, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Let's take a little quiz, and all you do on your memo pad is number 1 through 10. A fixed mindset. There is a Dr. Carol Dweck, who is the chief researcher about growth mindset, and she put a bunch of 5th graders to the test and gave them a math test much harder than what they normally do. And some of the kids went, I can't do it, it's too hard, I hate this, and they got distracted. And then there was another group of kids who went, oh goody, I love a challenge. I was hoping this was going to be challenging. And they tracked the kids throughout their lives. And the kids who said, oh good, I love a challenge, are the ones that generally did better. So when you think about a fixed mindset, we say things when it's a challenge, like, oh, this is too hard. Or, this is rigged. If something bad happens to you, this is rigged. This is a hoax. This is, fake news, dare I say it. Okay, with effort, you say it's a waste of time. Or, how dare you when people criticize you or give you feedback. Or for other people's success, well, of course they did that because they have money, or whatever we say. But with a growth mindset, when you're faced with a challenge, you say, all right, let's do this. I'm willing to give it a try. With adversity, you go, how can I solve this? What can we do to make this better? Effort is, time to work hard, I love a challenge. For criticism, okay, this is where I can improve. And with other success, wow, good for you, that's incredible. I was 16 years in between husbands, and I call it relationship high school. It was a lot of learning, a lot of growth mindset in those 16 years. And a turning point for me was a quote attributed to many people, including Yoko Ono, so I don't know who said it, but it says, you turn jealousy to admiration, and then you can grow. And I began to look at my friends' successful marriages, where I was at first jealous, and instead I started going, can you guys tell me how you met? How did you know he was the one? How did you know she was the one? And I began to be curious about their successful marriages and cheer for them. And now I myself have been married 15 years, 16, I forget. Anyway, 16 years, and you can ask me, because jealousy, fixed mindset. Admiration can be a growth mindset, because you can do it too. The truth about change, science proves that when we grow, we feel younger, and actually our brains change. And it's all about how we talk to ourselves. And the hardest thing is the first step. So, with your permission, I'm going to play you this video. Who's scientific in the room, generally? Okay. So if you're wondering, it's just 2 minutes. If you're wondering if it's a good thing to learn new things as you get older,
It's a very good.
here we go.
Skill will be key in the achievement and success of our learners.
So the bottom line of that, the more we learn, the younger we feel, and the more we retrain our brain. Ages. Where did you go to study? You went to Starbucks or something when you said you were
Barnes
studying?
and Noble.
You're going to Barnes and Noble. Just paying attention to something. Attaching a learning to something you already know. Emotion. The Greeks used to throw somebody in the cold river if they wanted that person to remember a particular event, because that emotion heightened everything. So there are ways to do it. Neuroplasticity is the ability of the brain to form and reorganize synaptic connections, especially when we learn. They did a study of people who had strokes, and one side, and they was paralyzed, but they wanted them to respond to physical therapy. And one thing they did was, in the brain that changes itself, they created a box. And the box had a mirror in it. So let's say your left side was not functioning well. You've heard about this, right? So you want to say what they did?
They would mirror it so you felt like it looked like it was moving.
Right.
So it gave you the inspiration to get to that point.
And you
Yeah.
believed you could do it. So they put
Yeah.
their right hand in and had them do things with their right hand, but it looked to
Like-
their brain like the left hand was moving.
It's really cool.
It's so cool. And so, part of that is that if you believe you can do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like you to think for a second, write it down if you wish, of something you've always wanted to learn to do. Now, I will say that we need to be somewhat realistic. I don't think that I want to learn to skateboard right now because I've had 4 hip surgeries, and I don't think it's a good idea, right? So put something down.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason, and using a bit of a stretch of the imagination. Think of something or write something down that you'd like to do, and let's talk about growth mindset. And it could have to do with your business. It could have to do with your personal life. It could be just something you want to learn to do. So a word about aptitude. So as I mentioned to you before, I was the black sheep in my family. They were all athletic, and I just wasn't interested. Maybe because I was bad at it, or maybe I was bad at it because what I liked was playing guitar. Yes, that's me a long time ago. But I picked up a guitar, and that was home to me. Like, do you think sometimes there are just things that feel right?
Yes.
Now, I have 3 grandchildren. My daughter has 3 kids, boom, 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 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade. The youngest one, Henry, is the only one who, for 6 months running, always asked me to lift up the tank on the toilet so he could see what happens when it flushes. The girls didn't care. Not the girls, it was just like every word out of his mouth is, what happens if I push this button? What happens if I push that button? He had, how many of you have more than one kid or kids in your life or your teachers? They have different aptitudes, right? And we do. You know, there's aptitude tests, there's communication styles, there's something called a Colby assessment, which says how you like to do things, and then there's the theory of multiple intelligences. Some people are musically smart, some people are mathematically smart. So it may not be the thing we're born with the gene to do, but we can always get better at something if we want to or if we have to. Are we going to win an Oscar? No, but maybe you can be in the chorus of a community theater. So I used to teach public speaking to 7th graders. And I knew, because I knew these kids, I was a drama teacher at the school, and I had them from 3rd grade to 8th grade once a week. So I watched them grow up. And 7th grade was the public speaking module. There were some kids who would rather, as the Seinfeld joke goes, be in the coffin and delivering the eulogy at the you know, they just were terrified. And then there were my kids who were like, can I do another one? So I wasn't gonna get that kid who was terrified to be, can I please do another one? But I got them to the point, they got themselves to the point with preparation that they could make the required speech in front of the school and not die. The star, she got a little bit more, even more confident. So if we're starting here, we can get to here. Are we gonna get to here? It may or may not have to do with our aptitude. Our aptitude can guide us, but it doesn't have to limit us. So these are the 4 things I asked you. So think of the stick shift story. I had the desire, but until I bought that the stick shift car, I don't think it would have happened. I made it necessary. When I wrote my book, Bang Behind His Voices, I thought about it for years. It wasn't until I signed up for a writing class and had to write a chapter a week, because I'm a good student, that's when I started writing it, because I had to. Who's ever done something just because they had to?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, right? And did you, and keep your hand up if you found aspects of yourself you didn't know you had, because, anybody want to share a quick example of that? Yeah.
I just had to redesign my own website.
You had to redesign your own website? Tell us about that.
Well, at first I was jumping from page to page, knowing this needed to go here, this needed to go there. And then eventually I'm like, 1 page at a time. And I used hypnosis. And then I did 1 page at a time. And so I'm almost there. Almost.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yay. Yeah, because you had to. I just repainted my own front door because I didn't want to pay a painter to do it. It looks good enough. So, anybody else? You had to do it, so you learned to do it. Yeah.
Similar to you, Randy, the first car I owned was a car my dad got for me out when I moved out to LA at 20, and I had just gotten my driver's license, learning to drive in Manhattan at rush hour. And he bought me an old Corolla with the stick out of the floor, and I had no clue. But if I was gonna have a car, then
That's it.
I had to learn to drive it.
That's it. And thank you. And so sometimes we don't give enough credit to necessity. If we did it because we had to, it doesn't mean we didn't grow. Can you say, oh no thanks, I don't want that car? You know, could you say, never mind, my website is good the way it is? You know, we can sometimes say to necessity, no, I don't have to. So we want to give ourselves credit for responding to necessity. So when we have the passion, the necessity, then we need mentorship and to be able to learn from failure. When my grandchildren can't do something, you can tell I'm pretty involved with them. We live 3 miles away, you know. I can't do it, Grandma. And I go, you can't do it yet. To ourselves, oh, I can't do that yet. That is the magic word. I'm not going to play this for you, but just so you know, there's an entire Sesame Street thing. This is, Bert. I know it's Bert. Janelle. So, you know, and ever had that little angel and devil, like someone on your shoulder, going, no, you can't do it, you're not good enough. Anyone ever said that? You're not good enough? You're not good enough yet, maybe, right? But you can notice the first thing to change is always notice that, oh, that's a fixed mindset. I have named my little self-talk devil, Negative Nelly. So Nelly, I know you're trying to protect me from failure, and that's okay. I know that's what you're trying to do. I'm assuming good intent, and I appreciate you trying to protect me. And you know what? I'm going to try it anyway. You're right. I might fail, but failing is not the end of the world. Like, you have to talk back to your self-talk, and then if you fail, figure out what you learned. There's a thing in the crossword puzzle world. Anybody do crossword puzzles here? Okay. So they're more complicated than a Wordle, and I love Wordle too, and sometimes I don't get it, but that's okay, right? But in the crossword, you finally get the clue. It's called TIL, called Today I Learned. Today I learned that, because I didn't have that clue before. So some of the steps also include finding a good teacher and taking that first step. This is one of my favorite quotes from Vincent van Gogh. If you hear a voice within you say you cannot paint, then by all means paint. And that voice will be silenced. But it's hard to do it, and this is just, it's easier to learn new tricks if you watch it first on YouTube. I've learned many things. Okay, so this is, get your pens at the ready and a fresh page on your memo pad. And this is a painting. I'm proud to say I made this painting. Yay! What I want you to do is draw something. I want you to draw a cat. Just do, and notice some of the things you're saying to yourself as you draw. Tell me some of the things you were saying to yourself as you drew that cat. I can't draw. What else? I'm not good at drawing. What is that? Any other? I can do better, I know. Okay.
How about I just don't like drawing? Like,
I don't like drawing.
I never liked it. I didn't even like coloring as a child.
Okay. So you say things to yourself about your aptitude. You say things to yourself about your likes and dislikes. And you say things to yourself about what you can and cannot do. And so I want you to do it again now. And this time I'm going to give you guidance. This is a step-by-step way, and yours doesn't have to look exactly, you don't have to do the last bit of filling it in, but just start with a simple sideways oval and follow the steps and see how your cat turns out. Go ahead. I had someone say to me once, and Shane may disagree with me, but I can do brain surgery if someone's just over my shoulder telling me what to do step by step, right? I wouldn't want to be on the table.
I wouldn't want to be that patient.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. There's something to do with practice. But what I want you to know about this drawing is we did it step by step at a paint sip. You have been to one of those? And all they do is take a bunch of people who don't know how to make art and show us step by step how to make some art. And believe it or not, everyone's looked a little bit different. But whatever it is you think you cannot do, if there's a part of you that wants to do it, maybe what you need is guidance or hypnosis in the case of the website, right? So broken down step by step, nothing is as hard as the experts make it look. Right? My husband can juggle. I can't juggle, but a friend of ours, Carolyn Finch, brings scarves. If you have 3 scarves, you can learn to juggle, right? So give yourself a break, give your self-talk a break, and know that step by step we can learn to do anything. Bearing in mind reality. Again, I'm not going to be a skateboard champion at 70. I'm going to be 73 next month. I'm not going to be a skateboard champion. But if I had to balance on it, I probably could. The thing is, it's so much fun to grow. So, where do we want to grow from here? It's a little exercise that you can do with yourself. How many of you have teams, people that you work with, that you're leading? There's a few. So there's a few secrets to leading with a growth mindset as well, but it just starts with living. So just bear in mind, if there's anything you kind of want to do, ask yourself what in that circle is missing. Is it desire? Is it necessity? Is it mentors? Maybe you need a mentor or someone to teach you how to do it. Give you feedback. This solo show that I'm writing, I'm taking a writing class. And I have more words than I need. And so I'm hiring a coach to take a fresh look at it and go, you don't need this, you don't need that. Mentors do not take away from our success. In fact, mentors can be key to our success. And you as a mentor to other people can do the same thing. So bear in mind an exercise, we don't have time to do it today, but something fun to do with your team is 3 things you're learning, 2 things you want to learn, and a question you still have. Have you ever had a leader that helped you grow or who inspired you? Yeah. Can you share something about that leader with the group? What was it about that leader that helped you grow, and how did their style make you feel? Debbie, and then, all right, Debbie, and then your name?
Jill.
Jill, okay.
I worked for a woman several years ago in Las Vegas as a director of social media she owned a brokerage, a real estate brokerage. And she kept telling me, I want you to get your real estate license, not to sell real estate, but so you are more knowledgeable about the compliance part. I want you to start taking on your own clients for consulting. And she really pushed me to the point where I did end up having my own digital marketing agency for 12 years. But her whole thing was, it's not just about what's happening right here with our company, it's how can you grow as a professional. She was an awesome lady, awesome lady.
So it sounds like she believed in you, she had faith in you, and she gave you some concrete steps.
She did, and space.
And space.
That was the thing. It wasn't like, okay, well, you have 9,000 things to do at work, but find the time to do this. It was like, go ahead. If you need time to take a client, study for the exam, whatever. So she gave me space.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Jill, did you want to share yours?
Sure. I had a boss who was really great at asking questions and helping me to find the answers so that I owned the solution. So that I was certainly guided toward solving the issue I was facing, but she never told me how to do it. She never.
Did you all hear that? So it was like open-ended questions, so you owned the solution. I love that. Works with kids too. It works, I think you can work this out, within the limits of their abilities. So these kinds of leaders made you feel, give me a word.
Good.
Powerful, empowered, loved. This is growth mindset leadership. It's the difference between a leader that says, let me tell you how to do it. And how do you think we can accomplish this?
I just wanted to add to that because I had a mentor who taught me sales. I mean, I had been doing sales, but this particular one, and it was a no judgment. And it was trust. And because of that, that's why I committed it. Yeah.
So you felt trusted,
Yeah. It gave me the encouragement, the empowerment.
and you had space, you were encouraged, you felt loved. The opposite, have you ever had a leader that,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
all right, so.
Yes, I was just saying.
So leaders who lead with a fixed mindset, it can be all about my way or the highway. How did that kind of thing make you feel?
Terrible.
Terrible?
It makes you feel stupid too
Unnecessary.
sometimes.
Stupid, unnecessary.
Makes you mad.
Makes you mad. So, when you're leading your teams, are you leading, because a fixed mindset leader is a judge. And feedback, you leave there feeling like you're the worst and you can never grow. A growth mindset leader guides, not an umpire. Is that an umpire? Yes.
Yeah.
Sports. Not an umpire, but a coach. So fixed, you already told me this, we'll sum it up. Fixed mindset recipients feel judged, shorted, not valued, enforced, punished, and they want to quit. More people quit their jobs because they feel not valued and they feel like they can't grow and nobody believes in them than over money.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you don't want to be the recipient of a fixed mindset leader, but if you are a leader, you want to be a growth mindset leader because your recipients will feel what you shared, supported, more committed to the team and the organization. They tend to work harder. They feel more valued, and then they turn around and they mentor other people, which is how the world works. So 5 top tips, and they're on the handout on the table, but I have one for each of you with more to it, and I'll show you how to get that in a second. But the 5 top tips is, and this is when you're leading yourself or you're leading other people. Number 1, curiosity, not certainty. I wonder what can we learn from this change? Jack Welch, famously of GE, blew up a lab when he was early on in GE. He literally made a mistake and he blew up the lab and he went to his manager and expected to be fired, and the manager went, "Oh, you're really valuable to us now. You learned a lot. How can we make sure this doesn't happen again?" And kept him on. And he ended up being, writing books on leadership. There's another famous story, I forget which corporation it was, but somebody made a $10 million mistake and expected to be fired. And the boss went, "Fire you? I just spent $10 million educating you." So, lead with questions, like you said, Jill. Lead with questions, not answers. Let your team come up and own the solutions. Celebrate effort as much as outcome. Wow, you worked really hard on that. I liked how you did that. You recognized persistence, creativity, even if the results fall short. You didn't meet the quotas, like, wow, you made an improvement. Or, wow, you tried something new. Did you learn anything? Right? So the cue might be, well, that didn't work. What did we learn? 3, embrace failure as fuel. Again, you don't have to be a team leader. You're a team leader to yourself. So if you fail, my favorite is like, well, that was interesting. I wonder why I forgot those lyrics and made them up on stage, right? So don't hide from setbacks. Share the insights, and your failure can sharpen your next move. It's not just all about grit and do you have it or not. It's being willing to fail. Listen, I have to tell you, I am terrified to do this solo show. I've never done it before. I've never thought I wanted to be on stage alone sharing my life story to people. And having someone call it a touching and humorous story, now I have to be funny. I'm scared. I'm gonna do it. It's November 12th in Fairfield, and I'm preparing it, and I expect that some of it will go well, and I will probably go off that stage going, I need to make a few changes. Because if you don't fail, you don't grow. This didn't go as planned, what might we try next? Coach, don't command. Instead of, why'd you do it that way? Say, how can we approach this next time? We is an operative word. How do you think we could solve this? Instead of, I'll tell you what to do. Again, say it to your negative Nelly on your shoulder. How can we get ourselves over this fear, honey, right? So, and the last thing is, if you're in the position to hire, it's scary. But if you hire for potential, not just pedigree, you might, who's ever hired someone because it just felt right, or they had the right attitude? How'd it work out?
Great.
Okay, you said it for me. So, does this person have the drive and the adaptability to thrive here? So, we create collaboration, hey, let's figure this out. Praise the process, not the talent. When you tell a child, oh, you're so good at art, it's not as good as, wow, you worked really hard on that. I love how the colors. Specific feedback is so much better, and praising how they got there. I like how you kept at it. Reward wise risk-taking, have their back. And a good thing to remember is, you don't have to be the perfect person to be a leader. Many effective leaders will start a meeting with, okay, what's everybody struggling with this week? I'll start. I'm having a hard time combining, whatever it is. If you share your struggle, your team will be more open to sharing theirs and seeing you as human. How to be organized by talking to organizational experts. And I have a labeler and everything. So I behave like an organized person, and you can always find stuff in my house, but it's not perfect. And it's not about being perfect, it's about growing. When my son was being evaluated for ADD when he was younger, he was like 7 or 8, and they brought him to a therapist. And the therapist said to him, and my son was feeling like, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I didn't get 100, and the therapist said to him, can you touch the top of this door jamb? And my son was like this, and I go, no. And the therapist said, you can't do it yet. You can't do it yet, because you're not supposed to be able to touch that door jamb yet. You're 4 feet tall, but you will be able to. And so that is the power of yet, because the next question is, if I can't do it yet, what do I need in that circle to advance a step further? And it could be you need a guide. It could be that you need to fail a few times and learn. It could be about your self-talk. It could be about necessity. And it could be that eventually you're like, I don't really want to grow in this direction anymore. I'm glad I tried. So again, I thank you, and remember the words of Ted Lasso, every day is a chance to be better than the day before. Thank you.